Hey everyone, welcome back to Will Sponge. It's been a while, so I figured let's make a video. So in this video, we're just going to be taking her slow and easy and just giving an old snowblower tune-up because, well, why not? So without further ado, let's turn this camera around and I'll give you a walk around and then we'll get to work. Alrighty guys, so here she is. It's a Yard Machines 24-inch 5 horsepower, pretty basic snowblower. So I've got a bin full of parts here, so let's go. So some of the first things we're going to do is check the belts under here, because it already runs, by the way, so you don't have to really go through that. So basically what we're going to do is tune up like the frame and the chassis, because the motor's already good. Anyway, we're going to check the belts first. We're going to check the drive system down there. Fix this tire because it leaks air. Grease everything. Replace these. Sorry. So these are actually regular bolts, which is not okay. They're supposed to be shear pins, so I have some of those. We're going to put those in. And then finally, I'm going to teach you guys how to fix up worn out skid shoes like that. But the first thing we're going to start with doing is check the belts. Okay, so on pretty much any of these MTD snowblowers, to check the belts, you're going to have to take off 2 screws, take it off this cover. So there's one right here, and there's one way down there. Usually they're a 3/8 bolt, but these ones look like it's just a slot screw. So let's get this off. Okay, so now we have the cover off. Let's go inspect it to make sure there's no big holes. So, I mean, right there, that's kind of normal where the belt rubs against it, but that's fine. No big deal. So now let's check the belts out. So this one in the front, is the auger belt. So looks pretty good. It's not bad, or it's not cracked. And then the one back here is the drive belt. This one, these rarely ever go bad. It's usually these ones that break, but looks okay. And this one over here is the pulley, so let's check it out. The bearing is a little loose, but that's nothing too out of the ordinary. So I think let's leave it. They don't need to be changed. So to check the rest of the belt, you can kind of just spin it over like this and pull it with your hand if you want. But it looks okay to me, so I think we're good to go put the cover back on and check out the drive disc underneath. Oh, and by the way, whenever you're working on belts, always have the spark plug cap removed so that you don't accidentally start up the engine, because that wouldn't be good. Alrighty guys, so now we're going to tip the snowblower up for its like underbody repair, or like the drive base. Anyway, before you tip it up, make sure that the gas is less than half a tank. If it's not, sometimes what you can do is you can put a piece of plastic over the cap, or over the filler neck, and then put the cap on. This will seal it up. And also make sure your oil dipstick is nice and tight as well, so that oil doesn't go everywhere. But this tank is empty, so we're all good. Alright, now we're gonna go tip the snowblower up on its front so we can work underneath. Okay, so to remove this, it's called a belly pan. To take it off on an MTD snowblower like this, there's gonna be 6 3/8 bolts, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6. And I like using impact because it's faster. Okay, so once all the bolts are taken out, you can go ahead and just pull this out like this, and that's not bad. I mean, the pan itself is a little beat up, as you can see, but that's nothing out of the ordinary for these. And there's also no mouse nest inside, which is nice, because sometimes there is. And it helps to have the light so that you can see what you're doing. I'll prop that up here. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and talk about the things we're going to do under here to make sure that this snowblower is ready to go for many years. So the first thing we're going to do is change out, this is called the drive disc. What this does is when you squeeze the drive lever up on the handlebars, this plate raises here and makes contact with this rubber wheel. And the rubber wheel, when it touches this plate here, drives the wheels. Hard to show on camera, but you can see him kind of moving. Anyway, so we're going to change this out because it looks a little bit low to me. And we're also going to grease up the shaft here, which is actually, when you move the shift lever, what this wheel slides back and forth on to change the gear. That's how that works. Kind of cool. And then finally, we're going to grease up the gears so that they don't bind and everything else. We're also going to grease these bushings here as well. So without further, so now let's take off this friction disc. So the first step to taking off the friction disc is taking off both wheels. So this is called a linch pin. Just pull this out with your hand like this, and then pull this pin out. Thankfully, these wheels aren't seized to the axle, which is good, because if they are, you're gonna have a really fun time getting them off. Trust me. So there we go, there's one. Now let's do the other side. This side's the same thing as the other one. I'm not sure if you can see on camera, but yeah, there's actually a little bit of rust starting on the axle. So before we put the wheels back on, we're going to grease this to make sure the wheels don't seize on the axle. Okay, so to remove this friction disc, we're gonna have to take out this whole center shaft in here. 1 sec, let me get this light out of the way. We're gonna have to take out this whole center shaft. So there's a nut on this side and a bolt on this one. What we're gonna do is, I'm pretty sure we have to loosen this and then it'll just slide out, but let's see. I watched a YouTube video a couple days ago, but honestly, I kind of forget how to do it, so we're just gonna figure it out, you know? It's more fun. Okay, so to keep this shaft from spinning, when we take out the nut, I've put an adjustable wrench on it so that it can't spin. So now, let's loosen up the nut over there, and it's a 1/2 inch size, by the way. All right, so it's kind of hard to see it, but it's actually right there. Okay, here we go. There's the nut itself. There's also a, 1 second here. There's also a bearing we're gonna have to take out right here. So it should just come out, but we'll see about that. Okay, so to get it out, all you have to do is push the shaft this way, and then it comes out of the bearing, and then you can pull the bearing out of the side here. So there we go. Looks okay. We'll clean it up, of course. And there's also this little spacer, so don't lose that. Now what we're gonna do is set you guys back here. Should just be able to move it like this, and you have to tilt it off of this little shifter fork over here, or else it's not gonna come out of here. There you go. And then we're going to just pull this out of here. And when you put this back in, remember this sprocket goes against this side, and this bearing goes against that side of the machine. So we go like this, and there you go. And here is our friction assembly. Okay guys, so on this particular snowblower, the friction disc is actually a replaceable rubber wheel. So to get this one apart, there's 6 3/8 bolts. So I like to use the impact again and take them out. So it's just 1, 2, 3, and then turn it over, 4, 5, 6. And for this side, with this bearing on it, this is called a ratcheting wrench because it has a ratchet in here. This is really handy to get down in here. I mean, you can also use this end to the open end, but the ratchet one makes it easier. Anyway, we're gonna take out all 6 of these bolts. Okay, so now to get this in half, what we're gonna have to do is just get a screwdriver like this and pry this up. The backside. They're really stuck together. So it holds it, but should come apart. Okay, so it took some force with a hammer and a screwdriver, but got them to pop apart now, so we can maybe just pry this with our hands. Yep, there we go. 2 halves there. Now, I'm gonna get the new drive ring. I'll put the part number on the screen and an Amazon link or something in the description to where you can buy one of these. So here we go, and here's the new one versus the old one. Pretty much the same, but the new one is a little bit bigger, as you can see. So now, rinse and repeat. Let's put this on here and kind of just stretch it around so it fits, because you have to get it like all the way. It has to be like this. So just kind of stretch this a bit. There we go. Now I got the top one and line up the holes. I suppose you could leave these in your house for a day or two, not in your cold garage, but anyway, that's fine. Now we're just gonna squeeze this together and then put the bolts back in. All right, here we go. Got all the bolts back in, and when you're tightening them up, don't over tighten them because this metal can be easily stripped out. Okay, so now we're gonna clean up this shifter shaft so that the shifter will slide easily when you're shifting the machine. And we're also gonna clean out in here where this goes through. So I just have some brake clean here. We're just gonna spray it on, get it all over it, and then just wipe it off with a couple rags. And there we go. That's nice and clean. And we're also gonna put, when we reinstall it, we're gonna put some grease on here because these things often rust up, and then you can't even shift the snowblower. And you're also going to want to clean in these gears too with a rag, so just use your fingers, get in there. Make sure to drop it on the ground. There we go. That's good enough. Now we're going to get inside of here, so just get the brake clean, spray it in here. You could also use some old gas and a brush. That would work too, in a little can. That works pretty good sometimes. So just shove this through here and then pull it out of here. And there we go, nice and clean on the inside. Now let's go reinstall it. Hey guys, so next thing, before we put the shifter assembly back in, or the friction wheel I should say, we're going to clean off this drive plate because as you can see, there is quite a buildup of rubber, which is pretty common over the years, but this buildup will reduce the effectiveness of the drive system. So what I've got is a little bit of steel wool here and some more brake clean. So we're going to clean this off with brake clean here first, and then use the steel wool and scrub off the rubber.
Okay, so I got steel wool here, and then we got some brake clean. Spray this all over this, and just scrub this. As you can see, it comes right off. So just do this until it's all shiny metal. And you don't, I mean, if you want, you could use WD-40 to clean it, but I don't like to use that because it's still in oil. So the brake cleaner works good. Okay, so once you have all the rubber pieces, or all the rubber steel wooled off, just get some more brake clean, spray it on here, and then get a clean rag and wipe it off. And there we go. Nice clean drive plate. Get this really good. There we are. All clean.
Alright, so now I'm going to do this whole in one shot because I don't want to take my gloves off to move the camera. So anyway, what we're going to do is grease up these these axle bushings so that the snowblower will roll freely. So the first thing we're going to do is pop off the washers here. And don't worry if it's all loose, that's normal. So pop off the washers from both sides. Set them over here. And now, with one hand, hold this, and the other hand, pull off the bushing somewhat, like this. These are pretty, I don't know, they're kind of messed up. Anyway, what we're going to do is get a wire brush and wire brush off the rust here on both sides. So I think I have it on my drill, which will work. Why is this all messed up? I don't know. There we go. The battery's dead because it's cold out. Anyway, go like this. And then what you're gonna do is get some grease from got a grease gun here. Put the grease on the axle here, and then use your finger and just smear it around. And I'm gonna change gloves because I don't want to get these ones all greasy. So now, get your glove and smear this grease all around the axle here, so the bushing has something to slide on. Now, hold this and slide it back in. And yeah, that's already so much better. And there we go. There's the one side. Now I'm gonna go do that side. Alright guys, so I got both sides all greased up, and when you're working on a snowblower, don't be afraid to use copious amounts of grease, because the reason you want to use tons of grease is, here we go. I say this to people all the time. Grease is cheap, parts aren't. There you go. Anyway, we're going to reinstall our drive disc now. So here we go. We're going to slide this in from this side and then have this under here. So the first thing is line up the little hole on there with the peg on the bottom of here. Next, slide in your hex shaft through here. There we go. Get the gears lined up. Push it in. Next, get the bearing and spacer and put it on, and after that, put the nut back on. And if you want to save the next guy some trouble, put some grease in here so that this doesn't get rusted on to the shaft we just slid in. And also, when you want to tighten the nut, just reuse the adjustable wrench on the hex shaft. Okay guys, the next step is we're going to grease up the gears and the selector shaft. So again, I got my tub of grease here and a glove on, because this stuff, I mean, if you get under your skin, it's not a big deal, it just smells funky. So anyway, your glove, get the grease on your finger, and then let me get you guys out of the put you guys over here. Take your finger here and just smear this. That's kind of a lot. Actually, we'll put some on the gears too while we're doing this. So get the gears really good. You don't want to put too much on here, because if you get it on this, it's not going to drive. It'll just slip, which is very annoying. So take some of that, put it on the gears as well. It's just good for it. And it'll make your machine roll a lot easier too when you got to push it. So yeah, get on the gears a little bit, spin this around, get that leaf out of there. Kind of just spin this with one hand and smear it like this with the other. And while you're doing this, you can also move the shifter up here, and then we can grease the other side of the shaft. So just get a little bit on our finger, go like this again, and there you go. So I'm rotating with this finger and greasing it with this other one. So there we go, all greased up. And finally, I'm just going to give this plate and this disc a final cleaning with brake clean, and then we're going to reassemble the bottom pan. Okay, now we're going to put this bottom belly pan back on. So slide the pan into the groove here on both sides, then tip it up, and then reinstall all 6 bolts. Alright everyone, now it's time to reinstall the wheels, but first we're going to put a lot of grease on the axles so that they don't seize. So again, get the tub of grease. You can use anti-seize too, I just like this better. Get a lot of grease on your finger, and just have at her. Look at that. There we go. Get the other side. You can use lattes, don't worry. Because if you have to pay a shop to heat up the wheels for you to get it off, that's not going to be cheap. Trust, I did it once at my school. That was not fun. There we go. And you can also put the grease on these pins as well, so they don't get all rusted and everything. So there we go. Here's one, here's 2. Get everything. You can grab the whole thing if you want. Here we go. Now we're going to put the wheels back on and then put the pins back in. Hold the axle with one hand, or else it'll kind of want to slide. Okay. Gotta find a hole over here. Give me a second. There. Here's one. Here's the other one over here. And one of these wheels, I think we gotta put a new valve core in it because it leaks. Anyway, slide this over. Push that on. respectively, get the pin. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys how to repair broken skid shoes like this. So the first thing you're gonna have to do is take them off. So on this one, it's just 2 1/2-inch bolts, and I'm gonna take them off right now. Oh, and sometimes these bolts can get rusted on here, so you might have to use an angle grinder to cut them off. But these ones are loosening up just fine. All right, you guys, so now I'm gonna show you how to make some skid shoes that will literally last forever. So here's the old ones. As you can see, they're pretty, well, this one's all worn out. This one's not bad. But anyway, what we're gonna do, since these ones are so poor, is just gonna get the grinder and cut this off flat. So this is a flat piece of metal. And we're gonna do that for both of them. And then I'm gonna get this piece of scrap metal I found in my metal bin. And we're gonna cut this in half here, or along here or something, and weld this to here, and then bend up 2 sides. So let's mark this out first, and then I'll show you guys how to, or I'll show you guys kind of how I do this. So the first thing we're gonna do is measure with the good one how long this flat bottom edge is. So it's about here. We're gonna hold this. It's about 3.5 inches. And then we're gonna see how long these are. So these angled pieces are about 1.5 inches. So we're gonna do 3.5 plus 1.5 inches plus 1.5 inches, and then measure out that on here. Okay, so for each of these, we need a piece of metal that is 6.5 inches long. So I don't know, I guess we can just go from this edge here. We're gonna mark 6.5. There, we're just gonna cut this right there. So there you go. So I'm gonna. I need to build a welding table. So if you guys have any ideas on how to do that, please let me know. Okay, so now we're gonna cut this down the center pretty much to get 2 even flat pieces. Okay, there's that. Now I'm gonna cut off these to make them with 1 flat piece. All right, so before we can weld this, we have to grind off this paint because you can't weld through paint. So I've got a flap disc on my grinder, and now I'm just gonna take off the paint on this, and we're gonna clean up this rust here because you can't really weld rust. All right, you guys, so here's the plan. So I'll get you out of the tripod. So here, actually, first of all, I'll show you guys what welder I have. So since I'm just kind of a hobbyist, one-man band in my garage, I got this Best Arc MIG, TIG, and stick welder from Amazon. As you can see, it's 110 or 220. I have it in 110 because I don't have 220 in the shop. But anyway, and I have it set up for flux core welding right now. So unfortunately, I can't show you guys the, well, I could, but the clips wouldn't turn out very good. Anyway, I'm not going to show you guys the welding because the clips would just not be very good because I'm able one helmet and I'm wearing that. So anyway, here's what I'm going to do first is I'm going to tack this, like maybe right there and there. And then I'm going to get my grinder again and score this side because we're going to have to bend these up. And to bend this solid steel is like kind of hard. And it'll just be a lot cleaner if I make a score mark there and there and bend it up. And then after we do that, we're going to fully weld this. Or we're going to fully weld it along here and on the back as well. So I'll show you guys once I tack it and then once I have the lines cut. Okay, so I have the first stage of the skid shoes complete. So I'll show you guys what it looks like. So what I've done so far is welded the bottom here, and I've just made the cuts with the grinder there and there and bent it up. So now I'm going to weld there, and maybe this, yeah, we'll weld the cut as well. But that's pretty thick metal, and we're also going to weld in here in the back. All right, you guys, so just finished up the welding. I cooled them off in the snow. That's why they're all wet, but it looks rougher on camera than what it actually is in person. But yeah, flux core welding, there you go. This one's better. Down there, anyway. Now, let's bring the snowblower back in the garage and bolt them on. Okay guys, this is how I properly set skid shoes. So, what I've done in the past is I've welded these washers together. So this is about a 1/4 inch gap that we're gonna leave. So essentially how this works is these two washers go underneath the scraper bar down there so that this much space is between the scraper bar and the pavement. The reason we're gonna do this is, the reason we're gonna do this is that people don't know that snowblowers aren't actually meant to scrape all the way down to the pavement. That's not what they're designed for. They're designed to leave a little bit of snow left. Which, and if you ask me, is honestly better, because if you ever blown your snow to the pavement, then wait like the next day or two, the sidewalk is all slippery. Whereas if you leave snow, it leaves more traction for your boots. Anyway, we're gonna insert these under the scraper bar, and then we're gonna bolt on the skid shoes with new hardware that I have, because I just threw out the old hardware because it was too rusted. So here's how we're gonna do this. So there's the washer right there, and there's the washer right there. Okay, so here's the new hardware I have. I'm gonna put them on finger tight, and then I'll show you guys kind of what it looks like then. All right, so this is what it looks like when it's loose. So the washer, where is it? It's still under there somewhere, and providing us that gap. Now, when I go to tighten this, or when you go to tighten this, you're gonna push this with your hand, and then with an impact, ideally tighten these up really tight, because you don't want these to move. Okay. So, and you want to have these bolts be like, you want to pull them out as you're doing it, because it's a carriage bolt, so it's a little square. And anyway, the bolt sometimes likes to pop out of there, and it's really annoying. There we go. There's that one. Now I'm going to repeat the process on the other side. All right, there we go. Skid shoes are properly on. Now we're going to replace the two shear bolts that are in the auger. All right, guys, so this right here is called a shear bolt, and the idea is literally in the name. So what it's supposed to do is, if you hit something really hard, like a newspaper, with the auger, the bolt's supposed to break when it hits it. But since nobody has these at their garage, when they break, they put in regular hardened bolts, which is not good. The reason you can't just use any normal hardened bolt or regular bolt is because it will not shear upon the impact the auger makes, and thus will destroy. There's a gear in here. I changed one a couple years ago. Anyway, there's a gear inside of here, and if you break that, that is going to be expensive and time consuming to replace that. So you do not want to do that. So what we're going to do to prevent this from happening is we're going to add proper shear pins to both augers, and we're also might add some oil in here, but I don't know yet. So let's get on with the shear pin. So to take these out, I think I'm going to use my impact with a wrench on the bottom, if it'll fit in here. It should, I think. There goes the light. So anyway, here we go. There's that one. Now I'm going to do this other side. Okay, so little story. Here's the bolt that came out of it, and whoa, focus, come on. If it'll focus. So if you can see there, there's 3 lines indicating this is a grade 5 bolt. And wow, I just noticed this. The bolt here is bent. That means they hit something that bent the bolt. If this is a shear pin, I'm willing to bet you the shear pin would have broken, and that could have, let's just say this could have been a really bad situation for the previous owner if this didn't break, if it didn't break. Anyway, okay, so before we install the new shear pin, what I'm going to do is take my oil can here and oil up the whole auger assembly to make sure that it won't rust to the shaft, because another part of the shear pin, or another key part to your snowblower, is this spinning freely like this. You want this to happen, because if this doesn't spin, the shear pin can still break, but it's not going to work effectively. So what I'm going to do is take this and just lubricate all these little points in the hole and stuff like that. So yeah. And shoot some oil into here. I mean, you're supposed to use a special kind of grease, but I don't have that, so there's the cap. And let me see if I can stick something in there. Yep, there's some kind of grease in there, but let's see if we can add some oil. That these seals usually are bad, so the oil just leaks out, but like it's still good to add some in there just to prevent rust and corrosion. There we go. Yeah, let's put the cap back in. Where did I put it over here? Here we go. Now it's time for the new shear pins. So to do those, I'm going to, that's good. Gonna get some anti-seize here, and we're gonna coat the shear pins with anti-seize so that they don't stick in the auger shaft, which is not fun to deal with that. Here's one, and the other side. So again with the anti-seize. This stuff gets everywhere. I should probably be wearing gloves, but oh well. Hole again. And now these, I never actually used these kind of shear pins before, but there's a little clip, I guess, to go in there. So we're gonna find the opening and get the little cotter pin in. Wherever it may be. Alright, so shear pins are in and all anti-seized and greased up. Now we're going to go through the carburetor, and then we're going to lubricate the entire machine, like all the controls and handles and stuff like that. Alright, I'm going to take off the carburetor, so let's go. Done this 1,000 times, so I'll just put you guys on the time lapse while I do this. Hey guys, so I got the carburetor back on. So now what we're gonna do is install a new pull cord and then take it outside and try it out. And I purposely left off the cover in case we have to mess with the idle or the throttle over there. So now I'll show you guys how to put a new pull cord in it, and then we'll take it outside and try it out. So on these smaller 5 horsepower Tecumseh engines, to take this off, there's 3 3/4 inch screws. So there's one here, and then there's 2 at the bottom. So just take those out, and then this comes off. All right, so we're gonna put a new pull cord in this recoil. So the correct length is 1 wingspan. So, or just get like I'll put a measurement on the screen for how long it is, but it's usually just a 1 wingspan. Anyway, the first thing you're gonna do is pull this all the way out like this, and then hold it. And then since this one has all these holes here, we can just jam it with this screwdriver like this so that it won't move. So next what we're going to do is pull this out of here with a pair of pliers, wherever they went. These ones will work. Actually, no, these ones here. Pull this out here with a pair of pliers, and then just cut it. And then you can pull the old rope out like that. Next thing you're going to do is pull the whole thing out of the handle, and then you can just discard this. So next step is get the new rope, and you're gonna want to melt the end into sort of a point so it can fit through the hole down here. Which honestly, this is the hardest part of the whole job. Getting the rope through the hole. There we go. So kind of just snake this through. It takes a while, but kind of just bend it a certain way, snake it through here. Okay, so pull sides back on. Now we're gonna gas it up and run it for a while, and then change oil because I looked and it's pretty disgusting. So let's put some gas in it right now. Okay, let's give her a go. Actually, move you guys closer so you can see. There we go. Okay, guys, so as you just saw, we tested the snowblower for a bit to get the engine nice and hot, and now we're going to change the oil because it's pretty black. So first thing we're going to do, loosen the dipstick so that we can get airflow through the engine. So here it is. Yeah, pretty disgusting. Now we're going to loosen the drain plug with a 5/8 socket on my ratchet here. And I gotta get a small one. Just give me a second. And if you do this, you might have to hold the the drain tube with vice grips because it might want to spin. So let's go like this. And sorry if my head's in the way. There. Hold it like that with the vice grips and then loosen it with this. And then as you can probably tell, I had the snowblower sort of tilted to get all the oil towards the drain. So now let's take out the drain plug and take a look at our nice oil. Ah, it's hot. Ah. It's hot. So let that drain out until it's done draining, but here's a view of the tilted up snowblower. So there you go. I tilted it up on a gas tank I had lying around. But yeah. Anyway, looks like the oil is almost done draining, so let's go prep our fresh oil. Okay guys, now we're gonna add the fresh oil after we just drained it out. And remember to always get rid of your oil in an environmentally friendly way. Dipstick. Yeah, okay. Shut that there. This engine takes 24 ounces of oil, so I got here 5W30 for the winter. Alright guys, so that's going to do it for this one on tuning up an old snowblower. So if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe. Also, stay tuned for next week's video because I'm going to be installing an impeller kit and making this snowblower throw snow so far you won't even believe. So stay tuned. Have a good weekend.